Are parasites actually demons in biological form? The existence of parasites that have the ability to hijack a person's mind sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, such as the movie The Faculty. The Faculty is a science fiction movie about high school teachers being controlled and taken over by otherworldly parasites. As the old saying goes, art imitates life, and truth is far stranger than fiction. In ancient China, the Taoists had a very interesting belief concerning parasites. The Taoists believe in a concept known as the three worms. The Sanxi, three corpses, or Sangchong, three worms, are a Taoist physiological belief that demonic creatures live inside the human body and they seek to hasten the death of their host. These three supernatural parasites allegedly enter the person at birth and reside in the three dantian, energy centers, respectively located within the head, chest, and abdomen. After their human host dies, they are freed from the body and become malevolent spirits. The three corpses work to harm their host's health and fate by initiating sickness, inviting other disease-causing agents into the body, and reporting their host's transgressions to the gods. The usual English translation of Sanxi is three corpses. However, this Taoist term does not literally refer to corpses as in dead bodies within the human body, but is linguistically causative, meaning the eventual death, mortality, produced by these demonic agents. Now, I myself am not a Taoist, nor do I believe in Taoism. However, I believe they have a very good point about parasites being demons in biological form. Parasites and demons are incredibly similar, if not the exact same. They are two sides to the same coin. In fact, demons are often called spiritual parasites. A parasite is a biological organism that lives and feeds off of its hosts and causes mental and physical illness. They are known to feed off of their host's negative emotional energy and are known to bring the host physical and mental illness. Studies have shown that parasites are able to cause severe mental illnesses such as schizophrenia. Scientists have discovered how the toxoplasmosis parasite may trigger the development of schizophrenia and other bipolar disorders. They have shown that the parasite may play a role in the development of these disorders. Clinical studies frequently report that patients with major mental illness, such as schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, have comorbid physical conditions, suggesting that systematic alterations affecting both brain and peripheral tissue might underlie the disorders. Numerous studies have reported elevated levels of anti-T-Gandhi antibodies in patients with major mental illnesses. The T-Gandhi parasites are so powerful that they can hijack a person's mind and alter humans' sexual desires and influence humans to engage in abnormal sexual practices such as BDSM and have an attraction to sexual violence. So what is the T-Gandhi parasite? Toxoplasmosis is an infection caused by a single-celled parasite called Toxoplasma gondii. While the parasite is found throughout the world, more than 40 million people in the United States may be infected with the Toxoplasma parasite. The Toxoplasma parasite can persist for long periods of time in the bodies of humans and other animals, possibly even for a lifetime. Of those who are infected, however, very few have symptoms because a healthy person's immune system usually keeps the parasites from causing illnesses. However, pregnant women and individuals who have compromised immune systems should be cautious. For them, a toxoplasma infection could cause serious health problems. I recently found an interesting case study concerning this very powerful and influential parasite titled "The Case for Toxoplasma gondii in Psychosis and Other Human Diseases." This chapter introduces Toxoplasma gondii, the cause of toxoplasmosis. It discusses the many ways it can be transmitted and what is known about human infections, especially those affecting the brain, the pregnant uterus, and the eyes. It details the evidence linking this parasite to psychosis and estimates the percentage of psychosis cases that may be caused by it. It also briefly discusses the evidence linking toxoplasmosis to other conditions, epilepsy, brain cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, and motor vehicle accidents. The T. gondii parasite has been called one of the most successful parasites on Earth, and yet is one of medicine's best kept secrets. It is remarkable in its ability to infect nearly any nucleotide cell in any warm-blooded animal, and infects most species of mammals and birds. An estimated 1/3 of the world's humans are infected, although this varies widely by country, depending on dietary habits and exposure to cats. A 2014 survey in the United States reported that 11% of the population, or approximately 40 million Americans, have antibodies to this parasite, indicating past infection. For almost a century after its discovery, it remained largely unknown. It was given a tongue-twisting name, Toxoplasma gondii, which was in fact inadvertently misspelled. The North African rodent in which it was discovered in 1908 was a gundi, not a gondi. It is a protozoan parasite, not bacteria or viruses, which were the infectious agents of the greatest interest in the 20th century. The most noteworthy protozoan is the malaria parasite. T. gondii, as it is commonly abbreviated, is a second cousin to the malaria parasite. But like famous humans, second cousins don't get much press. It wasn't until 1938 that T. gondii was known to be transmitted from a pregnant woman to her fetus and to cause severe problems with brain development. And it was not until the late 1960s that cats were identified as the specific host for this parasite. T. gondii has to be eaten by a cat to complete its life cycle in the cat's intestine. It begins its life cycle when a cat, usually as a kitten, becomes infected. Although the cat usually has no symptoms, it excretes in its feces up to 50 million infective T. gondii oocytes per day for an average of 8 days. At any given time, approximately 1% of cats are infective and are excreting oocytes. The oocytes are remarkably hardy and can survive for long periods in soil or water. Wherever the cat defecates may become contaminated with infectious oocytes. Since cats prefer loose soil for defecation, this often includes gardens, children's sandboxes, and animal feed piles in barns. After 24 hours, the oocytes dry out and are thought by some researchers to become aerosolized, thus floating in the air and capable of being inhaled. Water becomes contaminated when cat feces deposited on the ground is carried into streams by rainwater or when cat litter is flushed down the toilet. Not all cats are carriers of this parasite, but they can be. It's incredibly interesting finding out that cats are the specific host for this very powerful parasite that can hijack the mind and cause very serious physical and mental issues. Now, I myself used to own a cat that I loved very much that passed away from liver complications back in February. And I do not believe that cats are intrinsically evil. However, the topic of cats being hosts for parasites that can alter the mind and body in negative ways reminds me of a question I used to have. Why were cats worshipped by the ancient Egyptians, and why do witches love cats as well? Apparently, in ancient Egypt, cats were not worshipped as gods per se, but as vessels for them. The ancient Egyptians believed that cats were chosen to be inhabited by the gods, and that some of the divinities even adopted their likeness. For example, Bastet, also called Bast, was the daughter of Ra, the sun god. And when it comes to the occult, cats, specifically black cats, have played a huge role in mythology for centuries. In the Middle Ages, they were believed to be a spirit or demon to serve a witch as a companion. I find it incredibly fascinating that the ancient Egyptians and ancient witches believed that cats can be vessels for spirits. And as it turns out, cats can be vessels for very powerful parasites that does to the body what demons have been known to do to the body in the scriptures, such as cause you to hear voices, experience negative emotions such as anxiety, depression, OCD, bipolar disorder, and many other mental illnesses. Demons can hijack your mind and influence you to do destructive things, such as engaging in abnormal sexual practices like promiscuity and BDSM. Aside from cats being specific vessels for these very powerful parasites, other carriers can include all the unclean animals that were spoken of in the scriptures: pigs, rats, shellfish, fish without scales, and many other animals listed in scripture as unclean to consume. Maybe there is both a spiritual and physical reason as to why God said not to consume these animals. In fact, the Most High calls these animals an abomination, and that we shall not eat their flesh. In biblical usage, the word abomination means something that God loathes or hates because it is offensive to him and his character. After all, an unclean animal was a chosen host by the unclean spirits known as Legion. So is it possible parasites are actually demons in biological form? A biological antenna for the spiritual wickedness in high places. Is this how they are able to cause so much pain, sicknesses, diseases, and other physical and mental torments? If you believe you have been affected by these demonic parasites, Jesus actually gives us the solution in the book of Matthew. In the book of Matthew, Jesus told the disciples that some demons are incredibly powerful and can only be cast out through prayer and fasting. Fasting just so happens to be one of the best parasite cleanses out there. Now combine fasting with genuine prayer and a healthy lifestyle, you have a spiritually and physically effective weapon against these serpents, these demonic parasites, who wish to bring forth your physical, mental, and spiritual demise. I hope you guys have found this topic to be very fruitful. If you would like to support this channel, I recently wrote a book titled The Caffeine Epidemic, about the effects of caffeine on physical and mental health. The link for that will be in the bio below. Again, thank you so much. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we are out. Till next time.
Parasites are literally demons in biological form, hijacking your mind right now. Ancient Taoists called them the three worms, believing these entities lived inside us to cause sickness and early death. Modern science actually backs this up with a mind-altering parasite called Toxoplasma gondii. It infects millions, rewiring the brain to trigger severe mental illnesses like schizophrenia and radically changing human behavior. The craziest part is its main host is cats. Ancient Egyptians worshipped cats as vessels for spirits, and witches kept them as familiars. Ancient texts say you cast out these powerful demons through fasting. Fasting just happens to be the ultimate biological parasite cleanse, proving ancient spiritual warfare was actually about physical survival.
This is a parasite under a microscope. So is this, and so is this. I believe that parasites are physical manifestations of demons in the spirit realm, or some kind of spiritual conduit. Do you want to know why? Because Jesus cast the demons into the herd of pigs and they jump into the ocean. Pigs are extremely infested with all different kinds of parasites. They're also labeled an unclean animal. They're not meant to be food. So to me, there's a clear link between parasites and demons, and the world is starting to wake up to the fact that most illnesses, both physical and mental, are caused by parasites. It's not coincidence, at least in my opinion, that America is probably the sickest country in the world, both physically and mental health wise. And we're pretty much the only country that doesn't parasite cleanse. They tell us that we don't need to, that America doesn't have them, all types of nonsense like that. And that is simply not the truth. CIA documents just came out from the 60s that literally link parasites to cancer. So they'll have this information out in the open and tell you to your face that it's not true.
Tumor is working on keeping you alive. Cancer is not even an illness. Cancer is a symptom. We have so many toxins in our system that would kill us. So the body builds a bubble, a tumor. It collects all these poisons and keeps the poisons on one spot where they don't do harm. That's a tumor. So the cancer is basically a friend. So that's why it's so dangerous if anybody comes with a needle biopsy, and pinches into this tumor and releases the toxins into the system. And all of a sudden they find you have a very fast-growing, very aggressive cancer that you didn't have before the needle biopsy.
We are intelligently designed and our bodies want us to be healthy. It's not just us that God designed this way. Pearls are formed when an irritant such as a parasite or a piece of shell enters a mollusk and becomes trapped, triggering a natural defense mechanism. It coats this intruder with layers of calcium carbonate and proteins, which builds up over years to create a pearl. So it's forming a shell just like a tumor over a parasite or an intruder. I am certainly not promoting astrology. I don't research astrology. I just knew this from seeing it out and about. It's an insane truth in plain sight. So the sign for Cancer is a crab. The Bible forbids us from eating shellfish. Why? Because crabs and other shellfish are bottom feeders. They clean up the environment. They're like vacuums. They're full of parasites. But I find this one especially interesting because it's a hard shell full of parasites, and it's called cancer. But it's not just cancer. I really think that it's pretty much every single illness, again, both physical and mental. I posted my parasite protocol on my Facebook a few times, and I see a lot of these comments. I followed your parasite protocol you shared and the pills you took. I'm on week 2, and it has helped me so much. Actually insane to see decades-long issues resolve so quickly. And if you look up the things that parasites are responsible for, it's actually insane. I know people who were gay for years and they did a parasite heavy metal cleanse and suddenly they were just straight. I've known people that were Islamic that did a parasite cleanse, turned to God, all types of things like cancer. I've seen herpes, STDs, just generalized pain, migraines, literally almost anything that you can think of, anxiety, depression. Toxoplasma gondii is a type of parasite that's carried by cats. They are estimated to currently infect at least 1/3 of the population, if not more. Some of the symptoms of that specific one: BPD, suicidal thoughts, intrusive thoughts, sexual promiscuity, risk-taking behaviors, lack of impulse control. The list goes on and on and on. You guys can do your own research. But my point is, this is a huge problem, and it seems like it's only a problem in America. So I'm going to give you guys my simple, natural, biblical parasite heavy metal cleanse. I've given it before, but a lot of people are asking me to update it, so we'll do that. Just to make a few things clear though, if you're pregnant or nursing, wait until you're finished. Don't do it right now. I'm not a medical professional. I've just done a lot of crunchy holistic research myself, and I tried a few things, and this is what works for me, and I've seen other people say that it worked great for them. So do your own research. This is not medical advice. Just sharing what I personally do and what I use and find to be effective. And lastly, this is not an atonement or like going to make you spiritually clean or something like that. The final atonement was Christ on the cross. He died, rose from the dead, and he is at the right hand of the Father. He intercedes for us because he always lives. So that is not what this is about at all. Please do not think that this is like asceticism or something like that. This is to help with physical and mental ailments, and hopefully like save you some money. Everything I'm going to show you, I made an Amazon link out of. I'll drop the link below. You do not have to buy through my link. You can just like look these up if you're more comfortable. If you do, thank you. If you don't, no hard feelings at all. I have no affiliation with these brands, and I buy all of this stuff with my own money. Revelation 22:2, the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. This is the ESV. In the King James Version, it says the herbs. So the herbs will heal the nations. Herbs are not a bad thing, you guys. It's not like witchcraft. The Bible says in several places that God put the herbs here for medicine. Everything I'm about to tell you, you're going to do for 30 to 60 days. You have to listen to your body. I can't give like a one size fits all thing. I'm not even like a medical person, but just from seeing what everybody kind of does, that's what I've taken away, and that's what I do. You will know when you stop passing these things. I promise you, you will know. So 30 to 60 days once a year. And then I like to do like 2-week maintenance cycles once or twice a year, just to like keep up on it, because that's what they do in foreign countries. So first off, you have to make sure that your lymph is active and moving and that your digestive system is moving. You need to make sure that you're consistently hydrated and going to the bathroom. If you're not, I know a lot of people aren't, the 15-day cleanse by Mia Amor is really good. I like this one. You can do whatever kind you want to do to get things moving. The big thing is to make sure that everything in your body is moving and your body can actually like push toxins and dead parasites out in different ways. So if we kill them, you don't want to leave them circulating because it's just going to make you feel crappy and not really help that much. They need to come out. So make sure that you're going to the bathroom. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water. A sauna is really good. If you can't do a sauna, I love doing like hot baths or detox baths before I shower. Dry brushing is a really good alternative. I'm a huge fan of castor oil packs. So what you do is before you go to bed, take castor oil. This one is the Genesis brand. It has to be organic and it has to be in a dark glass bottle. This is my favorite one I've tried. I've tried like 5 or 6 over time, and I feel like this one works the best. So I pour a bunch of it over my stomach and in my belly button, and then you rub it into your side where your liver is, because it's going to assist your liver as well as help you detox in general. And then you want to take a cotton cloth of some kind, whether that's like a t-shirt, a towel, a cloth, whatever. Just make sure it's cotton, and cover the area where you put it and leave it on overnight. This helps with detox, energy levels. Castor oil is amazing for breaking things up. Barbara O'Neill says that she had several patients that were able to break up like fibroids and all different things by putting castor oil on. It pulls things out. So that's why it's so important to have a dark glass bottle, because if it's plastic, you don't want to pull like the BPAs out of the plastic bottle and then put them on your body. Do you see what I'm saying? So if it's dark glass, it can't do that. If everything's already moving, I really, really like the Venatura Wormwood Black Walnut and Cloves supplement. This is going to be your anti-parasitic. This is what kills the parasites. So the way I personally do this is when I eat dinner, I'll take 1 dose of this after dinner. The idea is that parasites are feeding on whatever you're eating. You eat the dinner, wait like 10-15 minutes, and then take one of these. The parasites like come out of hiding and go to eat your food. This comes in and basically crushes them. This might sound gross, but they explode like slugs. And the reason you want wormwood, black walnut, and cloves is because they kill all 3 life cycles of parasites. And like I said, you don't have to use the Venatura. You could use whatever you have at home, or if there's like a brand that you prefer. I don't like work with the brands. I'm just telling you what I personally use, and I like the ingredients in this one as well as the price and the accessibility. So my logic with this is the top ingredient is wormwood. In Revelation, it says that wormwood falls and makes the waters bitter. And this might be a little bit speculative to some people, but for me, I don't think it is. If anyone's seen the Watch the Waters documentary or saw like all of the Ryan Garcia videos, the word on the street is that all of the waters have parasites in them right now. So what I personally take away from that is that if wormwood falls and makes the waters bitter, do you see what I'm saying? Like wormwood going into the waters, why? Well, wormwood kills parasites. And every time that someone's in an act of judgment in the Bible, they're given wormwood and bitters. In Exodus 12, it says, they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they eat it. They shall eat the flesh that night, roasted on the fire with unleavened bread, and bitter herbs they shall eat. So that's another thing. I personally would not do this if you don't have Jesus Christ in your life, because they're just going to come back worse. You have to stand on a firm foundation as your starting point. So the flesh that this is talking about is the lamb. So we have Christ, the blood on the doorposts, covered in the blood, the unleavened bread, no pride, and bitter herbs. What's going to happen after you take this, you're going to wait about an hour or 2. In that time frame, after you had your dinner and then you take this, do not eat or take any like supplements or medicines or anything like that. Just allow this to kill the parasites. What happens is when the parasites explode, they're full of heavy metals. So heavy metals start circulating and like toxins and like chunks of parasites. So what you have to do is go in with an activated charcoal. So this is your binder, if anybody is unfamiliar with like the lingo around this. So like I said, about an hour or 2, no food, no medicine. You're gonna take a dose of this. This is the now activated charcoal. I like this one because it's like affordable and it's natural. And then same thing, an hour or 2 after the fact, no eating, no medication, no nothing. This is going to soak up all of the nasty junk that the parasites send out into your body. Isaiah 6, I said, woe is me, for I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then one of the seraphim flew to me, having in his hand a burning coal that he had taken with tongs from the altar. And he touched my mouth and said, behold, this has touched your lips, your guilt is taken away, and your sin is atoned for. So again, this is not meant to be like atonement, but we know that all scripture is profitable and usable. So I definitely think that in some way is probably pointing to this idea. Maybe not this exact protocol, but I think it is useful, especially in this situation. And I love this binder. I've tried a couple different other kinds. Like I've tried Diamedicus earth and stuff, and it leaves me with a headache afterwards. So I just stick with my charcoal. And with all of this said, if you are not eating a really nutrient dense diet, or like you have some kind of deficiency or whatever that you're already aware of, you're going to want to remineralize. And that's going to be specific to each person. I can't give like an all for one type of recommendation. I personally take magnesium. This is the bioemblem one, and also zinc and a B complex. But like I said, it's going to be specific to you. You have to know your own body.
Maybe God turned all demons into worms and into parasites.
The parasite stuff is totally bizarre. These things look like straight up monsters.
Yeah, parasites are not what people think they are. I would have no issues making the leap that parasites are demonic.
Jesus is casting out a demon and heals somebody of some kind of physical ailment.
And some of these things cannot pass other than fasting, prayer and fasting. When you fast, your body eats itself and it kills those things and they starve and they die. Literally, there are parasites that you cannot get rid of unless you fast. And some of them you've got to fast for like 30 to 40 days to get rid of.
And in the Essene Gospels of Jesus actually cast a demon out of a guy, and a worm comes out of his mouth, and he crushes the worm with 2 stones, which is a parasite.
I think they take the form of many things, but I think parasites are probably one of the most common.
Do you remember that movie, The Sword and the Stone, that old Disney movie?
Mm-hmm.
And so when Merlin is having a battle with the witch transforms into an elephant, and then he turns into a mouse. And then so eventually she becomes a dragon, and he becomes some kind of a sickness for the dragon.
Madam, I have not disappeared. I am very tiny. I'm a germ, a rare disease. And you caught me, Mim!
Demons, bro.
Parasite. He becomes the parasite.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think that's exactly what they're showing you there.